So our first and easiest question of the day will be, what's your name, where do you work, what do you do, and what is your superpower? What is your superpower? So I'll go first, I'll make it easy. So, my name is Ted Kramer, I'm the Chief of Staff for HackerOne, and my superpower is that I can talk to anyone from anywhere. I can talk in front of 5,000 people, so I have no fear of making a complete fool of myself, like I'm doing right now. So that is my superpower. Adam, how about you?
All right, my name is Adam. Whoa, that was loud. My name is Adam. I work at HackerOne. My superpower is to project and talk really loud. No, I'm just kidding. Yeah, I think my superpower is pretty similar. I enjoy talking to people. I enjoy teaching. I really like connecting people and making people work together more nicely.
Hello, I'm Max. I'm a security engineer at Airbnb, and I'd say my superpower is optimism, even when things aren't looking so good.
Hey, I'm Sonya. I work at HackerOne. My superpower is probably optimizing things. Anyways.
Hey, I'm Pei. I'm a software engineer at HackerOne as well. They all have really legitimate superpowers. My superpower is eat one of those super burrito any day, anytime. Does that count?
That's a great superpower. So my next question is, what's your earliest memory of engineering, computer science, security? I'm interested in sharing experiences that you distinctly remember in your life that got you where you are today.
You mean my memory of engineering in general, or of me doing engineering?
However you want to answer it. It's an
Alright,
open question.
So when I was in junior high and high school, I'm from China, so I had all this male dude friends who would lock themselves in the room and doing computer science things, like fits every stereotype that you know of a coder or programmer. So I said to myself that I would never be one of them. And somehow I went to college and I took intro to computer science and I got hooked, and I found out that's how my brain works. That's how I think, and I have a sleeping bag in the computer lab of my college, and I become one of them.
So I really like playing video games. One of my first memories of doing anything code-related-ish is like when I was growing up, there were a lot of flash games, browser games. You know, they save stuff in cookies, you do stuff in the requests. So I was trying to hack my way through games because I was too lazy to play them.
I was very lucky in high school because my math teacher was also the IT director of our school, and he was too busy teaching math to do IT things, so he kind of let me play around with everything and try and keep it running. And this went pretty well for a while, but then I started learning about security and reading some blogs, learning about some tools, and so I have a distinct memory of the first time that I hacked into our school sort of central server. It was an English class. It was in 10th grade, I think. Though, of course, I was also the administrator of that server, so then it was immediately became my job to go fix it. So, you got to clean up after yourself.
Let's see. Can I do two?
Of course.
All right. So one of my first memories is I went to college for computer science as well. And University of Minnesota, in this huge lecture hall, like 200 people, and the professor is like, all right, who here has programmed before? And everybody raises their hand, right? And it's like, who has not programmed before? And like me and two other people are like, yeah. So after that experience, one thing that was really important for me as a student and as a teacher is being able to explain things in a way that's easily understandable or digestible, even if you have no experience. In terms of hacking, I think one of the coolest experiences I had earlier in my career, there was this bank, and I told some of you this earlier, I won't say who it was, but there was this bank, and you were supposed to only be able to transfer money between your checking account and your savings account. But it turned out, if you caught the request, so you check on your laptop and you say, I want to transfer money from my account to somebody else, or my account to another one of my accounts, you could intercept it and you could change it and tell the server, actually, I want to transfer money from Ted's account to my account. And the website was like, okay, here you go. So that was pretty cool, right? You could transfer money from any two people in this whole bank. And I was a consultant at the time, so I didn't make any money off it. I did the right thing. I told them about it, and they were able to fix it. So that was one of my first cool security experiences.
That's very scary. Okay. That was great. My next question for some fantastic students here. How do you like to learn, and what are the best resources that you leverage day in, day out to get better at your job, your passion, whatever it is?
Throughout my whole sort of trajectory in security, it's been just reading articles that the community has posted. So this really started out for me reading security blogs, because there's a lot of really smart, talented people out there who spend their whole weekend hacking on something and then just write this fantastic post later about how they did it. And now, like, a lot of that has kind of moved to Twitter, but it's always these sort of grassroots information sources. There's a lot of computer security classes out there that can be really valuable, but there's nothing really like seeing someone who is passionate about a project, wrote up how they did it, and you can go and kind of replicate what they did. So that was a lot of my college career, was reading about a cool hack someone had done and spending my weekend saying, like, okay, then they did this, and now I'm going to learn about this tool and figure out how to copy that. And then at the end, I learned so much about this concept.
Are there any specific blogs that you could tell the group here that they should start reading today?
That's a tough one. There's some really good stuff out there. In terms of quality, there's a blogger named Brian Krebs who does fantastic work reporting on sort of the criminal underground of the internet. That's not so much technical, but it's really interesting to see how people are out there maliciously exploiting security flaws and kind of seeing the impact of that on real people's lives and money.
Is Brian Krebs?
Brian Krebs, Krebs on Security. That's a great place to start. And then a sort of personal favorite from the technical side, there's a blog called Skull Security, which is just some guy who works in security and does really cool projects and writes really quality write-ups about them.
Awesome. So, as a reminder, the question was, how do you like to learn, and what resources can you tell the group about that they should leverage, whether it's about computer science or engineering or security?
I think the easiest way to learn things, especially in engineering, is just to do it. So if you are thinking about learning Python, if you're thinking about learning Ruby or Rails, just start a web server, start doing stuff to it, start changing things on it, and then you'll run into a lot of problems. And Googling or Stack Overflowing all those problems will help you learn so much faster than if you're trying to chug a book.
What is Stack Overflow?
It's this website where a lot of people ask engineering questions, normally computer science questions, and then people answer them.
Is it free?
It is free, yes.
Stack Overflow, a good resource.
Especially when you become an engineer in the industry, it's your best friend, actually. So just go and do things. That's how I learned really quickly. Everyone learns differently, but that's what worked for me.
Awesome.
On that note, on my thesis, I actually give credit, where on the front page you'll thank everyone, like your professors and your teammates, and I actually give credit to Stack Overflow. Thanks all the contributors on Stack Overflow. I would not survive without them on my senior year. So there's that. So kudos to everyone who said. I'm the kind of person who will fall asleep on a lecture after 10 minutes. I just can't listen to any lectures. That's why I hate meetings too.
Noted.
Thanks. But I definitely just love doing things. I would just start doing and hacking and find answers along the way. And I think one thing that I found different after I started working is you actually have this great community of people that you can actually talk to instead of your computer. So I would definitely join, whatever community that you're in, and work with people, pair with people, learn from people. That's a great way too. Throughout my college life, I've definitely just stared at my computer for hours without, knowing what to do. So having people reach out for help is definitely a plus.
That's awesome. That's fantastic. Adam, can you do it?
I thought I got to skip this one. So if you want to get into hacking, I would highly recommend, and I've told a lot of people this, look up a tool called Burp Suite. Like I just burped it. Burp Suite. Really good tool. It's free. It's going to be confusing. There are a lot of tutorials on YouTube that will teach you how to use it. I'd also recommend Web Hacking 101. That's an online book you can buy. It's like $10.
Pete's book.
Yeah, it's Pete's book.
So
The guy,
that's a book that we're going to work on putting in all of your hands.
yeah. And the guy who wrote it is here. You can actually meet him. So
They met him.
Oh, they did already.
He did a
Oh
talk-
yeah.
he did a talk
That was
before
before.
you?
Yeah, I was here.
You were, I think.
No, I wasn't here. But yeah, that's what I definitely recommend. I also agree. I think it's really good to have a mentor. So if there's somebody that you can pair up with, or somebody who knows this stuff who can teach you one-on-one, for me personally, that works really well. If you want, you can always just email me. I'm adam@hackerone.com if you have any questions about hacking.
One other thing I'd like to say that I've always loved is doing competitions. I'm a competitive person. I learned a lot trying to build a team to do various things. I know some of you are Cyber Patriot. It's awesome stuff.
So my second to last question is, what's the best advice you've gotten in your career? And at the same time, what's the worst advice you've gotten in your career? You shouldn't look to the left.
I'll start with the worst advice. My very first job out of college, I was consulting, and I was working on, I don't even remember what it was. I found like a script, and I was like, we can make this a little bit better, and I'm like, can I change it? And my boss was like, no. And I was like, well, why? Why not? It'll be more efficient. He said, just don't change it. I'm like, well, why not? He's like, because I said so. So one thing that I learned from that interaction was that I never wanted to work somewhere where people would not answer the question, why? So in terms of terrible advice, don't be afraid to ask why, no matter what it is. And I think that's part of the hacker mentality as well, is understanding how things work so well that you can make them work in a way that they're not supposed to.
I'm going to start with best advice first because I found that one easier. I mentioned I was an optimist.
Yes. That is your superpower.
Yeah. The thing that really helped me is, especially in engineering and security in particular, there's a lot of people who are trying to do what you're trying to do, and there are going to be really smart people out there, and it can be easy to get discouraged when you see like how competent your peers are. At least that was for me. So one thing that I found that was really helpful is early on I was like, you know what, I love security so much, like this is really what I want to do with my life. I'm going to really focus on that. And from then on I kind of had a mission, like, you know, this particular area is what I'm going to go own in, and it's going to be my forte. And then in a few years that kind of was what happened. I had this area where I could say like, yes, I'm pretty authoritative in this space. I know what I'm talking about, and I really care about this, so I can feel proud of that. And even if, you know, my buddy Joe is way better at algorithms, that's fine. And so maybe security won't end up being what is your favorite thing, but there's a lot of subfields in engineering, and finding one to really focus on and just become awesome at that, I think is a really great way to go about things.
I'm going to start with best advice too. Best advice is just...
Did I talk about worst advice?
The worst advice.
Worst advice? This is a tough one.
You can pass if you want. That is terrible advice.
Not gonna pass. Okay, so I'm gonna like, my worst advice is gonna be a clarification on my best advice. Focus, but keep open the possibility of trying new things. Don't say like, I'm a security person. Graphics, sorry, I can't do that. It's not my area. I'm not gonna be able to try that out. See, yeah, graphics. Actually, I don't like graphics. It's not for me. But try stuff out, and don't ever constrain yourself, even if you have a focus, to only working in one field, or only working for one company, or only doing one type of work. There's a lot of really exciting stuff out there, and you know, feel free to change that up every few years.
The best advice I have gotten is always ask questions, always speak up. Like an environment where you can't ask questions is definitely the wrong environment. And an environment where you can't speak up, or you feel like there will be repercussions if you bring things up, also means that it's probably not the best environment, unless you want that. Yeah, I guess, yeah, I'm gonna cop out a little and say on the flip side, it's also very similar to what Max just said. I've met a lot of people that go around in different fields. I've seen people that go to do financial banking-ish programming and then go back and do virtual reality programming after having a few years of not touching graphics. Or the flip side, they do graphics for a very long time and then they go do something that is banking related, financial institution related. So don't confine yourself. Don't feel like because you haven't done it or because you've already lost touch with it that you can't do it again.
This is a really hard question. I think the worst advice that I have ever had that I can't think of right now was I remember taking this programming language class when I was in college, and I absolutely hated that professor because he requires attendance to the class, and it's like 20% of the thing. And I hate lectures. I just don't go to class. I learn fast by doing things. So he put me in, it's like, you should really attend the class because you should really listen to my lectures. And I think that was a worst advice because he doesn't really take into account of who you are and how you learn. And I think that's something that we all need to figure out ourselves, like what works best for you, right? What works for other people might not work for you. So it's your journey, you need to figure out what works for you.
You're the rebel of the group.
I was gonna say a word, but the best advice I had, I think that was at the Grace Hopper conference. I don't know if you guys know about it, but it's a computing conference for women. It's great. If you guys can make it, you should. One of the panelists was talking about, someone asked a question about, I'm worried about, speaking up and people might view me as being overly aggressive. And the panelist responded with, hey, women and girls, right? You're so not aggressive. You're so much on the other extreme of the spectrum that don't even worry about being aggressive. Even in your own mind, you might be thinking, oh my God, I'm making this comment that might seem aggressive, but to the outside world, you're not. So don't let that confine yourself. Just speak up what you want. Just be honest with yourself and with everyone else.
Great. My last question, and then we'll open up to the audience. There's a time machine that you're all allowed to jump into, and you get to meet your 16-year-old self. What advice do you give?
Play less video games. So I think, seriously though, there's a difference between consumptive and productive hobbies, right? So consumptive hobby is like watching TV, playing video games, like eating fast food. You're consuming something. And then there's a productive hobby, which is like drawing, art, music, like those are things that do that productive, or like hacking, right? So I think it's very important.
Or baseball.
Or baseball. Ted is a big baseball fan. I think it's very important, and if I could go back in time to my 16-year-old self, I would balance more my productive and consumptive hobbies. You can't work all the time, but if you play all the time, you're not going to ever grow or learn anything.
This is a tough one.
I've done a good job.
Yeah, you have.
This time machine doesn't really exist, by the way.
Yeah. I guess would be at the time I'd tell my 16-year-old self, you can go keep learning all these things that you're doing and like great, good for you, but go out and talk to people about it. Shutting yourself in and reading a lot of books and hacking a lot of things or whatever it was is all fine and good, but there's a whole new level of fun and learning that you get to do when you start teaching other people or learning from other people in your community. And I really should have gone out and found other people to do this stuff with and kind of socialized around that.
This is really hard. I think I will actually, on the flip side of Adam, I will tell myself to waste more time.
That was Martin's message. Have fun.
Yeah, I feel like it's a lot easier to feel like I have to be driven, I have to be focused on only one thing. And just, take it slightly slower, read more things, read shampoo bottles, I don't know. do random things that you don't even really do or don't really think about doing. Just, do random stuff and broaden your horizons on really tiny things like random soda bottles.
I think I have to agree with Sonya on this one. I would tell myself to keep playing video games because when you do that when you were young, that's how you had all the fun so you can do more productive things when you grow up. But I would also tell myself not to worry too much about anything. Like, I don't know if you guys experienced that, but when I was 17 or at your age, I worry about, should I do A or B or C? Am I going to be a complete screw up if I choose another path than what I'm doing right now? I would tell myself to stop worrying about it. Like, the things I do don't really matter. Who I am is what matters. So, no matter what path I choose, I know I'll be okay.
So I'm going to cheat and answer my own question as well to wrap up. And I love that that's the area you're going with, because if there's any advice I could give to my 16-year-old self, it's that everything that you think matters doesn't, and everything that you think doesn't matter actually does. And what I mean by that is it doesn't matter who at school likes you, it doesn't matter what you think your reputation is, but the things that actually do matter, your family and your friends. I'll tell you, when I was 16, I was a real pain in the butt with my parents. But you have to remember, the sacrifices they make for you, how much they care and love you, that really, really matters. So that's the advice I would give you. All the things you think might matter now, it doesn't really mean that much. And the things that you might not think are as important, they mean a lot. And when you get to be my age, which I won't tell you how old I am, you'll appreciate that and learn that. So, with that being said, questions from this fantastic, amazing audience. Right up front.
How did coding change your life?
So the question was, how did coding change your life?
I don't want to go first.
I think it basically empowered me because I could do a lot of things by coding. I had considered being like a mechanical engineer or some kind of engineering, but then there's something with code that is infinitely scalable. You do one tiny thing, or you do it on your machine. You can throw it everywhere. You can show it to people. You can replicate it. It's very empowering.
I think I stopped putting up with repetitive tasks. If I keep doing the same thing over and over again, there's probably a machine that can do that better.
So I haven't coded for a very, very long time. I'm more of a project manager these days, but I agree. I think I'm lazy, and the thing that's very appealing about coding is you solve a problem once, right? You never have to solve that problem again. It's just automated, and I think that's really cool.
Hey, you're up. You can pass if you want.
I'll pass on this one.
Yes.
Of all the millions of jobs that you could have taken, what made you choose coding?
So the question was,
What
sorry.
job that you do?
So the question was, of all the millions of jobs that you could have taken in this world, why did you pick the job that you currently do?
So I went to school for computer science, and at my school was mostly learning how to program. And I interviewed at a bunch of different places, and I think they all could tell my heart wasn't in being a developer and building things. For me personally, this is really cheesy, but I saw this really, really terrible movie from 1995 called Hackers.
Great movie.
And yeah, it inspired me. I'm like, oh my gosh, like this is so cool. I want to do that when I grow up. And so I went to school. Honestly, I didn't even learn that much about information security in school, like a little bit. But I just interviewed, and I just wasn't getting any of these jobs. And I think it was because they knew I wasn't passionate about it. So one of my buddies from college was working in information security, and he helped refer me to get my foot in the door at my first job as a consultant, and I learned it all on the job. So I think in terms of why I chose to do what I did, it was just something that I knew I wanted to do. I felt really passionate about it. I enjoyed it. I had fun doing it. If you don't have fun with your job, you're gonna not have a good time. If you come in every day, you're just like, oh, I hate this, it's not good. So if you can find what you're passionate about and go for it, whether it's security, engineering, like music, whatever it is, that's what I would recommend.
Basically, from when I learned that security was a job you could have, I knew that that's what I wanted. I don't know how this happened. It just has always sort of been my direction, and so that made a lot of choices very easy. But in retrospect, thinking about why I like doing what I do, I think it's because in security you get to basically solve puzzles all day. And you can look at a lot of people doing security, finding an exploit, fixing a problem in a smart way, designing a system as really an interesting intellectual puzzle, and it's just so satisfying to solve.
Yeah, so I really like building things, I like making things, and a really cool part about information technology in general and also security especially is that, as Max mentioned, it's all puzzles. It's all about people trying to find loopholes and people trying to find random ways to utilize things that weren't supposed to be used that way. And having all that as a challenge is really fun.
I am not as enlightened as they are. I did not know that I wanted to do computer science at all when I went into school. I actually majored in geology as well when I was in school, and then I wanted to study earthquakes. So I started looking for research opportunities regarding earthquakes, and all of them required programming background in C or C++ because of the mathematical modeling that I had to do. So I'm like, all right, I guess I'll take an intro to computer science class, and I just got instantly hooked. I loved how the machine works. I loved that I am the only person to blame when something didn't work. Unlike chemistry or biology labs that you will run the same experiment and with the same parameters and it will fail and you have no reason. You don't know what's going on. So I'm a control freak, so I like the aspect of programming. And I like everyone said where it's a battle between you and the puzzle and you get to work. So I didn't really choose computer science. I kind of just detoured into it and I really enjoy doing it now. I'm glad that they found me.
Other questions? Yes?
Did video games lead you to the path where you are right now?
So the question was, did video games lead you to the path that you are in now? I think that's a very personal question.
That's the yes.
What about it? I'm going to push you further. What about video games push you towards the career path you took?
Have you guys seen the TED Talk by, forgot her name, Jennifer? Jen? Ben, do you remember her name? She gave a TED Talk about these amazing superpowers of video gamers and how they could change the world. I would find it and email that to everyone. Everyone should watch that video. But that answered that question perfectly on what power you gain as a video gamer and how you can utilize that to do everything that you want to do.
Can I have the question?
Essentially, what is it about video games that has been helped you in your career and pushed you towards the career choice you made?
Puzzle solving. A lot of video games have a bunch of puzzles. They might be a single person format or they might be I am a really big fan of management games. That's why I said optimizing is a superpower. But basically, video games give you a set of rules and you're supposed to either find your best way through it or just hack your way through it. Try to find a shortcut. And I think it's basically puzzles in a really fun form.
I'm not sure I can exactly trace my love of computers to video games, but there's definitely been some sort of leaps in my knowledge of computers that were because of video games. It was like, okay, I've got this game and I want to cheat against my buddy because, I want to beat him at this and he'll think it's funny. And that means I'm going to need to learn about exactly how this is communicating over the network and reverse engineer all of this stuff. And so I ended up, spending 2 weeks learning all these new tools and figuring out what bytes went where and what they all meant. And I ended up learning so much security stuff just because the game kind of prompted me to. And so that's been a way it's been helpful.
I'm gonna have a slight twist on this answer. So, not necessarily hacking video games, but have you guys heard of Final Fantasy XI, World of Warcraft, MMOs? Yeah. So I used to play Final Fantasy XI, which is this online game where you play with tons of random people. And one thing I learned through that, and League of Legends players, anybody? Yeah, there we go. All right. So one thing I learned from these games is, it sounds weird, but leadership, right? So you're working as a team with other people, and you have to convince them to all actually work together towards a common goal. So that's one thing from video games that I think I took with me to my career, where I do mostly project management type stuff.
You have a follow-up.
Too excited. Another thing, I don't think we talk about that a lot, but when you're in a video game, right, you always believe in yourself, right? No one goes out to a quest without believing that you can finish it. And you work with your teammates and you're like, I'm going on this epic request. You have this ultimate optimism that I don't think we do that in real life enough. And I think that's something that we can all bring from the game to the reality is like, believe in yourself. You are working with your teammates. You're going on this epic quest and you're going to get it.
Awesome. 2 more questions.
Okay, so this is kind of like a random question that this will be heard today. What do you guys do to take care of your eyesight? Because I know you guys stand in front of a computer like all day, really close, like I would say like 15 inches far. Like, what do you guys do to
So this is a health and wellness question. I think the first of the day. The question was, when you sit in front of a computer all day and night, what do you do to help your eyes? Can I jump in and actually help answer this? So unfortunately, I now have to wear glasses because I sit in front of a computer so much. So I can't see anyone in the back right now. No, but my eyesight has actually deteriorated because of being in front of a screen. However, there's an application that I use that helps me because I work really late at night. It's called Flux. F-L-U-X. And what Flux does is it changes the, essentially the color of your screen. Because during the day it's super bright, super high res, and it's not good for your eyes when you're sitting in the dark. So it actually turns into what's called sepia tone. It's kind of like a dirty brown almost. And actually what they found out is that when you do that, late at night, it helps with your eyesight. And it automatically does it based on your time zone. So it's not like you have to turn it on. It automatically adjusts based on when the sun rises and when the sun sets in your location. But I will leave it to the rest of the group to answer. So the question again was, what do you do when you're staring at computers all the time? What do you do to help your eyesight?
Eye drops.
I was going to say Flux. One fun anecdote that I'll just add to this is that there's a famous computer scientist who was a professor, and he said that in his idea of how computer science would be taught, you shouldn't be allowed to touch a computer until after you graduated, because his idea was, his concept of how computer science should work was very theoretical, is that anything you do, any algorithm you write, any approach you take, you should be able to write it down, and then once you've really gotten it right, then you can go to a computer. And I think there's some elements of this that we can take in that, if you've got a problem to solve, maybe, go on a walk, take out a notebook, draw it, make sure you're thinking through the problem and then go solve it on a computer. There's a lot of time I've wasted just, jumping into a solution and not thinking about where I was going with it.
I echo Ted's suggestion on Flux. I also use it. The first time you use it, it's going to be like, this is kind of gross. And after a week, you're going to be like, you're going to switch to someone else's computer and you're like, dude, your computer is like killing my eyes right now. It's really good. Recommend it. Another thing is just to take breaks. Like, don't keep staring at your computer. Like, especially if there's something that you don't need to be staring at the screen to be doing, just take a walk. Like, you can think in your head and carry your head with you when you're walking around.
I wear contacts, so I'm not qualified to answer this. But the good thing is, if you fuck up your eyes, sorry, excuse my language, if you screwed up your eyes, you just know that when you're old, your eyes are gonna get better. So.
Thank you.
Try to not stare at too many things for too long, and then, like myopia is one thing, and then there's also this thing called cataracts, so like don't stare at things.
I got time for one more question. One really tough one. Yes. One.
What were some of the challenges you guys had to face in finding your path? Well, that's pretty good.
So the question was, what were some of the challenges that you faced as you embarked on your career path and got to where you are today?
I'm going to recycle one of my old answers. So, like I said before, when I went to college, I had never programmed before, and And so I was kind of like a step behind everybody else. And I think something that helped me a lot was finding mentors, and I asked this before as well. So finding friendly people who were very good at doing what they do and like learning from them. And I think because of that, I learned to become a mentor myself and enjoyed it as something I do in my career day to day.
We're all thinking.
I can jump in and throw in an answer. Challenges, right? To me, one of the scariest things for everybody in this world is failing. We're all scared to fail. For me, getting over that fear was hard, especially in my younger days. But what I would say is everyone fails. So I'm gonna steal from a favorite talk of mine. I was a former professional baseball player, and I can talk about baseball all day for my entire life. Baseball is a game of failure. If you fail 70% of the time, you're one of the best in the world. It's really hard to deal with it. 70% of the time, you're gonna screw up. So dealing with that day in, day out, and learning that it doesn't matter that you fail. It's about continuing and going on and pushing and challenging yourself and trying. Because every single person on this panel, every single person listening is going to fail at some point in their life. The people that succeed don't care. So that's the message I would say. We just keep on pushing.
I've got one now. Throughout school, maybe you get an idea of what you want to do. You want to be an engineer or an artist or whatever it is. And there's going to be all these requirements of other classes you have to take. You have to take your American cultures requirement or you can't graduate. Or you have to, take a certain level of calculus, even though you're never going to use it. As a student, I didn't like this. The classes were difficult. I didn't really see their relevance. Some of them I still don't, but there are so many that I look back and think, wow, like my career today and my life right now is so much better because of things I learned there. It's being forced to kind of take the whole picture and see society and technology and all of this from a sort of holistic view end up being supremely helpful in really understanding problems and also kind of taking the right approach on something when there are other challenges that you face.
I'll add on to that. I had similar experiences in college where I had to take all these classes and I'm like, why? And one thing I think I also learned from these classes, even though I don't use that content in my day-to-day life, was just learning how to study really, really hard and work on something and focus on something you might not want to focus on. And hopefully you don't have to do that day-to-day, but that's inevitably going to happen in your life, and being able to have that focus and ability to just study and absorb knowledge is something that I think is really important to learn.
So I was thinking about this a lot. I think a lot of challenges that I faced, it's very fortunate for me, but a lot of challenges I faced is getting over my own perceptions of what was supposed to be the case. Like for instance, I actually did pre-med up until like sophomore year of college. I was, I hacked video games, I hacked random stuff, and I built a lot of stuff, but it just never occurred to me that, hey, engineering is actually a pretty good thing, solid thing. There's no reason for me to not do it. I just, it just never came to me. And also like the speaking up or not thing. It's like, oh, maybe I shouldn't be too loud, maybe I shouldn't speak up about this. I mean, they made a decision there, so I guess that's a decision. At the same time, it's still just you. It's you against yourself. So whenever you feel like you shouldn't do something, ask yourself why you think you shouldn't do that. And sometimes it's for good, sometimes it's like, oh, probably do the legal things. But yeah, remember that you're your biggest challenger.
You want the last word, Pei?
Yeah, I'm just gonna summarize what you guys said. But I think for me, it's about overthinking. There are hundreds of voices in my mind when I do something. I'm like, what's the point of this? Why am I doing this? It could be taking a class that I don't see a point in, or I put in a lot of effort and I don't see results coming out of it, right? And one of my favorite ultra runners said, you just do things sometimes, right? Like you just keep doing things, keep pushing through, even through the darkest moments, and something will come out of it. So never give up. I know it's cheesy, but it's true.